To start us off, quick introductions. So I'm Rachel Belsham. I'm moderating the panel today. I'm head of language at Phrasee, and we're all about delivering AI-generated on-brand language at scale.
Hi everyone, my name is Giovanni and I lead Ecom Media for Europe at LIPTON.
Hi everyone, I'm Donata Peksa and I look after brand experience at HSBC.
Hi, Corina, Savin. I'm the Global Media Strategy Lead for AstraZeneca.
Thank you everyone for joining us today for what I'm sure will be an interesting discussion. We've assembled some brilliant leaders from the field of media, earned, owned and paid, and from a range of industries to talk to us today about the outlook for media and innovation in 2024. It's quite a big topic and we only have 30 minutes, so we've agreed to keep the discussion on paid media strategy for the next 15-20 minutes. And after that, we'll open up to the floor for questions, and I think we have a mic. We'll try and get through as many questions as possible in that time. Without further ado, we'll move on to the first question. So the first question I'd like to pose to you today is, what are the emerging trends that you feel are shaping media and innovation this year?
Of course, AI. How many times we heard AI today? For sure AI, but definitely I think it's affecting media in different ways. For sure you have the content, like content creation, but more than just content creation, I feel like AI will more like be the graphic intern that everyone was looking for, because, of course you still need an art director and everything, planned, but I think in terms of execution or like brainstorming, I think AI will facilitate and will speed up the process a lot. And then on the media buying side, definitely platforms are becoming more intelligent, quicker, faster. In some ways feels like, all these media platforms are trying to kill the agencies as well, right? Because like if you think about the evolution of Google in the last 20 years, you can launch a campaign in 4 clicks today, right? So definitely there is a lot of efficiency and effectiveness there. I would say content creation and media buying it's affected, And the last thing probably is attribution as well, right? Like measurement. Everyone is talking about attribution. Definitely will be harder to measure in the future because of all these updates we have seen. So probably, and maybe this is a provocative thought, is we're moving from measurement and attribution to prediction, right? So,
I think one of the trends that is maybe not a very recent one, but it's definitely becoming increasingly important is the attention economy, and basically how attention has always been a very sparse resource, and we have basically less and less of it, which means that in a really cluttered environment where there is a massive information at huge scale, we are exposed to so many different stimuli, and we only have the same processing power as we used to have in the past, which I think makes it even harder for advertisers and for media platforms to really grab that attention. And that creates a lot of a kind of invasive and bad design, and I think we are all exposed to some of the techniques or mechanics that we find deeply annoying, and that often means that we actually divert back from the platforms because they are using these techniques. And there could be things like, forever scroll, or automated videos playing, 2 videos at a time. It could be hiding the close button, and I think overall, brands and advertisers that are going to find a balance between pushing their own agenda, which is keeping you as long as possible on the platform, versus actually delivering value to you as a user and delivering experience in a way that is beneficial to you, are going to be the winners going forward.
From everything that I've heard here today, and from our day-to-day job, I can see a lot of emerging trends, a lot of things flying around, especially the AI topic. But what I think is crucial and important, and a lot of people have touched upon today, would be putting humans first and back into advertising and media. I think we should understand that behind data points and AI strategies. There's a human being that we're addressing to, and we need to understand as well as we can who that person is, how we can draw their attention, how we should build our media strategies to reach them in the most effective way, and what type of creatives would they be exposed to and react to and be interested into, right? So my outlook into 2024 and going forward will be, let's think about humans first. Let's put our consumer front and center, especially from where I'm coming from. In pharma, we have two types of consumers. The first one and the most important one are healthcare professionals. Nobody thinks that physicians are humans too. They think they are some kind of a robot that's always there in their professional scrubs, and they don't think about them as being humans, having their own spare time, thinking about other things but their profession.
Well, that was a few different things to think about: attribution, about putting humans in center, and about attention. My next question is, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities facing media in the next year?
If I relate to what I've just said, I think sieving through the millions of data points, first-party data, third-party data, all sorts of data, AI, bias of AI, all things like that, those are like challenges that I think we will face. The other thing that I'm thinking of, and I think Giovanni was talking about, is the attribution, right? Thinking about the attribution, but sometimes we get lost into attribution game, and we go so much into the bottom of the funnel and understanding what drove the most sales for me without thinking about the wider perspective and what's behind all the actions that were driven the person towards that channel and that conversion.
Yeah, no, please.
So I think that there are probably an equal number of challenges and opportunities that are coming through. So to me, I think it's important to have a balanced view of what kind of objectives we want to achieve as a brand. And for example, in my view, the skill set that we all need to be able to pull together a really powerful plan are very numerous. So on one hand, you need to prove, obviously, the value that the media that you are using is doing the right thing for you. But at the same time, you need to have a really good understanding of what is the objective that you're trying to get to. So I think between the long and short of it, so finding the right balance between performance media and between kind of brand building media, which is very difficult at times to prove because it's a much longer term game. It's a combination of different channels. There isn't an exact journey from a customer knowing about a brand or being aware of a brand and then taking an action immediately after to buy a product or a service. So if I try to build a case and if I try to turn marketing investment into growth opportunity rather than a cost center, how am I able to build that case in front of our CFO, in front of our heads of business, lines of business? How am I able to tell them that in order for them to sell the product, I need to make people aware of the brand. I need to increase their emotion about the brand. I need them to trust the brand. I need them to have a mental association with the brand when they do have a need. And I think that is an ongoing challenge that brand marketeers and performance marketeers have, and a really fine balance that they need to strike. So I would say a challenge and an opportunity in one.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of them. I feel like it's not just about the long and the short, but it's also about aligning the business objective and the media objective, right? So of course the business wants to sell more products, simply, where media sometimes wants to grow, like the brand. And then of course the other topic is how do you measure that? But if we focus 1 second on like media and business objective. I think a good CMO, a good marketing manager should actually be able to translate the business objective in media. So it's like if you want to get ready for summer, right? You need to eat less today in order to look better tomorrow. Now, are you ready for the diet today, right? So I think brands sometimes don't want to suffer, right? So I think, yeah, it's finding the right balance, but at the same time measuring it, right? Then the point is, the biggest difference between traditional and digital is that you can measure, right? Which is great, but then measuring too much, I think is the equivalent of not measuring at all, right? So, yeah, I feel like we need to find a balance there. And probably today, measuring the wrong things is even worse. So probably going back to the basics and just, you know, like trusting the process and see how it goes, you know? So yeah, measurement, attribution, and then getting back to how to get attention as well. I agree with them when they say behind those clicks there are people, and I think this is the point, right? I mean, some people say there is no huge difference between like performance marketing and brand building, because at the end of the day, while you looking for clicks, you also, you know, showing the brand to people, so the brand grows anyway, right? So you optimize for CPC, but you're getting, you know, impressions anyway. But it's more like about telling a story. So the other day, someone was saying, you know, we need to remember the role of advertisers in the past was actually to build the culture, right? To shape the culture through advertisement, right? Yeah, if you can see through like television and shows, comedy, right? So I think sometimes we need to get back to storytelling. Like, I feel like, and this is the key to get attention, right? Because people remember the story. Of course, today you can get in front of the right people at the right moment, at the right place, wherever, at the cheapest price, maybe. But still, like, what's the story you want to tell? Why are you better than the others? Or why are you different than the others? So I feel like we need to get back to being creative and think about the people first, right? So, yeah.
And there's something else that I want to build on and add to what you've said. Key performance indicator, KPIs, means key, right? You need to select a few of them which you believe are the ones that are going to drive your business forward. We get lost into so many KPIs that we don't, we don't measure correctly at one point in time. So we have so many of them, and sometimes then contradict each other, or some teams have some of them, other teams have other. And the point in KPI is, the main word there is key. So let's select the key performance indicators and let's run with those.
Yeah, but by the way, for the dashboards, you know that dashboards never match, right? So I have my theory. It's called the missing socks theory. You know, when you do the laundry, you're always missing something, right? It's the same thing with dashboards. I think we get into a point where you need a dashboard to understand the other dashboards as well, right? So, right. Yeah.
That's a lot to think about there. We'll be looking out for the missing sock theory, I think. But we could probably keep going for the rest of the afternoon, but we only have a limited amount of time. So after hearing your insight, it now feels like a good time to ask if anyone in the audience has any questions that you'd like to ask the panel. Who would like to start?
Oh my God, that is a really good question. It's terribly hard, let me tell you, because the way HSBC is structured means that we have a number of global properties, and these properties are contributed to and kind of supported by the whole organization. Obviously, some of these properties are global, and this is one of the criteria that we use before we decide to sign a contract with someone. They have to have a global presence, and they have to be aligned with our strategy of being that international bank and connecting people to the true power of international networks. However, these properties or these events also happen in very specific markets, right? And we're talking here both at sponsorship activities, but we also talk at things like airports, right? So we have a very strong airport presence. This is one of our key media channels. Airports, by nature, are international waters, and a lot of international passengers go through them. However, they are placed in one specific market. So if you were a specific market and you had to, fund a presence in an airport, you would understandably be not particularly happy if you were to then, cover the benefit for all the other markets. So I would say there is a very complicated and complex recharging mechanism that is, that kind of operates in HSBC, that looks at really making this split and contribution very equitable. So understandably, it looks at the revenue that the markets contribute. It looks at the number of benefits that they get from a specific property. It looks at the number of markets that the property lives in. So, for example, rugby sevens, 8 different markets, etc. And then it also, it will never be mathematically as correct as the markets would want it to be. And there are hundreds of discussions every year about that, as you can imagine. But we do have a model that makes that happen. I think what makes things easier is to have those criteria, and for the executive member, board members, to really subscribe to the decisions that we make. So every single one of these global partnerships and properties needs to be signed off by the ExCo members that are obviously representatives of all lines of business and regions, which means that once they say, yes, I'm comfortable because I think it's for the good of the group, then that decision is cascaded, and then obviously proving and measuring the value of these sponsorships and what exactly we're getting for all our lines of business is very important to keep them going and to prove that value.
Back.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing is, how do you measure impressions? How do you measure views? I think also we get too crazy in that. I know, like, who is controlling their controller, right? So, of course, some people might say, when Google, Facebook, Amazon tells me I have 100 impressions, are those impressions real, or you need like an extra company and pay, by the way, for CPMs anyway, to track the impressions? So I would say at some point I will trust the platforms. I think there are also conversations around viewability. Can you measure attention? How can you compare one platform to another? I feel like definitely like attention must be higher on YouTube than TikTok, right? Because people on TikTok are infinitely scrolling, where on YouTube you're actually focusing more. So I think every platform has a different way to consume content. I think you should use it accordingly as well, right? Regarding like building a brand and performance marketing, I feel like you can build a brand while looking for clicks anyways, because you're showing a video, you're showing content, you're telling a story. And I think performance marketing at the end of the day is focusing each funnel, right? So like awareness, you're asking the platform to reach as many people as possible at the lowest cost. So the KPI is CPM, right? And, engagement, some people define it in different ways, can be completed view, can be clicks, but you asking the algorithm, get as many people as possible to click on this ad and go on my website. And you're already telling a story, right? Because you showing a video, asking them to click, go on the website, and you telling a story as well. And then conversion, it can be sales, right? So I feel like, of course, like everyone is talking about how you build a brand and how you do drive performance, but I think you can do both. You tell a story while achieving goals as well. Like, I don't think there is this huge difference. I feel like in theory, to educate, I mean, I work with universities as well, right? So sometimes I had to go back and understand what's the difference between PPC, performance marketing, and all the others, you know, like definition. Sometimes I don't really see a huge difference. It's just like pay-per-click is a buying model. Some people define it as performance marketing. I feel like it's just a buying model, right? And awareness, consideration, conversion is just a funnel, and you change the objective based on the platform and the audience and the funnel phase and whatever. So yeah, short answer, I don't see a difference between building a brand and driving performance. I feel like the brand building is part of the storytelling. So yeah.
I think the bigger argument that needs to be built is about investment in marketing overall. So I think there are almost two questions to answer, or two arguments to build. One of them is about why is investing in marketing important? And I think you need to take it to the kind of arguments that work for different audiences. So in our case, the very simple truth is that if you don't invest in your share of voice, you are going to lose your share of market, right? If you don't invest in the trust and consideration, then getting new customers is going to become increasingly expensive, and therefore your acquisition cost is going to go up, and that means lost dollars. If people trust you and they know about you, they will refer you, they will stay with you, they will buy more products. And this can be evaluated, this can be assessed, this can be monetized. So I think the first kind of case to be built is about, you know, share of voice equals share of market, as simple as that. And we have a number of cases of brands that have continued to invest a percentage of their revenue that you should be investing in marketing and how successful they have been. And you just need to build that library of cases depending on your industry. So for HSBC, we look at our, you know, global competitors, you know, JP Morgan, cities of the world, etc. We see how much they have invested over time, and we see what their share of market is, and we see their acquisition levels. So we just take that data to our board and we say, listen, you know, it's very simple. If you don't invest, you don't get the acquisition that you need and that the targets show. And then the second level of conversation, I think, is the split between what we call brand building and performance marketing. And I completely agree with you that both actually deliver on the objectives, because if someone sees a brand and sees distinctive assets of the brand, they will know the brand and they will come to think about it. So they both work towards it. But there's obviously that percentage split, which hasn't really been figured out. It could be 60-40, it could be 80-20, depending on the industry. So I think it's almost like you need to work on these two levels. And in our case, I think, because I'm in brand marketing, it just feels like building that case for pure brand building is harder and harder because it's so difficult to measure it, especially more the traditional way.
When people ask me this question is, I'm a strategist, my job title is with strategy at core. I will ask them back, what is your marketing strategy? Because your media strategy is built as a response to your marketing strategy, right? So what are your objectives? What do you want to achieve? Sometimes it's a quick and dirty performance-driven activity, right? So that's what we will provide. When we want to build the brand, when we want to tell the story around the brand, the media will follow and everything that we build will be around that. So when people have this conversation around what is best, right, for my brand, we are a part of the advisory group that works with them to develop the best strategy for their brand. So the question would be, what do you want to do? What is your strategy? And what are the KPIs that you are going to measure against your strategy?
So there was a question about share of search.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
So when you were talking, I've used share of search a few times in the past, and I feel it's a super cool metric, because if you think about it, even if people are scrolling online, you know, and, you know, on social media, video, the first thing they're going to do, I mean, at least I will do, is searching for the brand on Google, right? So if you use, I did this exercise in the past for a brand where if you simply use, because to use Google Trend, you need to have a lot of data, which for some brands is not the case, but like if you use Google Search Console, you can actually get the organic brand search. And it was crazy to see like how this brand, after like 2 years of only advertising on Google Ads, by the way, so which in theory it's bottom of funnel, it's not top of funnel. The share of search on brand every month increased by 200% year on year, which was crazy. And then of course on top of that we put, you know, in some months they did some radio, so you could see, you know, the uplift. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of share of search. The only thing is now, I think in the past we had a big split between search and social. Today, thanks to TikTok, you have, you know, it's not like so distinctive anymore because people start their search on TikTok. So it will be interesting to maybe, I don't know if there are tools around, but like understand and put together all the share of search coming from all the other tools, from all the other platforms. So yeah, I feel like share of search is a good way to measure the market share, yeah.
Share of search, I actually look a lot at that, because in pharma, you're not allowed to advertise brands to anybody besides advertising engaging communities. So anyone that searches for our brands is doing that out of their own interest, driven by their needs that they have. So one of the only tools in the real world that I can use, not in the pharma space, would be share of search, because that will show the interest of our target audiences, the specialized ones, the healthcare professionals in our brands, which is really, really a nugget of knowledge for us, because as I said, we don't have many tools to work with.
Anything to add?
No, I would just say that any metric that is driven with kind of by proactive activity rather than reactive activity is more powerful. So to me, things like impressions are useful to know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that anyone engaged with the content or anyone was interested in what they saw. Sometimes maybe it even had the opposite effect. So I think share of search is obviously a really good metric in the sense that someone needs to take a proactive action to find out more about the brand. So yeah, by all means, I think that's a really, really good addition to the KPI list, yeah.
Excellent. I think that was a good question. Unfortunately, it's time to draw our discussion to a close. But thank you for your questions, and all that's left for me to do is say thank you to Corina, Donata, and Giovanni for speaking to us today.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.